Okay, good morning, all of you.
Good morning,
Good
ma'am.
morning, ma'am.
What we were discussing in our last class. Dia, can you recall what are the topics that we were covered in our last class?
Applications of Gauss law.
Application of Gauss law. Okay, all right. And which application of Gauss law that we were discussing in the last class? Nandana?
Electric field due to electric field due to uniformly charged infinitely long straight current.
Yes, it is an electric field due to uniformly charged infinite long straight conductor that we will discuss. And what about the equation for electric field if it is placed in a uniformly charged long straight conductor? What is the equation for the electric field? Aditya? Equation for the electric field if we are placing in a uniformly charged infinitely long straight conductor.
Ma'am,
Yes.
lambda by 2 pi epsilon r into r vector.
Yes, if it is in the vector form, electric field vector is equal to lambda divided by 2 pi epsilon 0 r into unit vector r. Very good. And what is that term lambda represents, Gayatri? What is the term lambda represents?
Linear.
Yes, it's right. Say it louder. All right, Punya, no problem. So linear charge density, lambda is represents the linear charge density. So I hope that that application of Gauss's law is clear, right? Okay. So today we are going to discuss another application of Gauss's law. And the second application of Gauss's law is electric field due to uniformly charged thin plane sheet. So this is our second application. Okay. Electric field due to uniformly charged infinite thin plane sheet. This is the second application. So in the first application that we were discussing about the electric field due to a uniformly charged infinite long straight conductor. Now in this derivation, instead of this long straight conductor, we replace this by infinite thin plane sheet. Only that difference is takes place here. Okay. First case, we are finding the electric field due to the long straight conductor. In this case, we are discussing about the okay. So in order to describe the second application of Gauss's law, we are considering a thin plane sheet. And to this thin plane sheet, we are providing a charge Q. After sometimes what happens to this plane charge, or after sometimes what happens to this charge is continually distributed on the surface of this plane sheet. Okay, the charge that we are providing to this plane sheet is continually distributed on the surface of the charge. Surface of this thin sheet, not surface of this charge, surface of this thin sheet. So all the procedures are same. Instead of a long straight conductor, here we are considering a thin plane sheet and we are providing a charge Q. After sometimes this charge Q is uniformly distributed on the surface of the thin plane sheet. Okay. Then can you recall what happens if this charge is distributed through the surface of the thin plane sheet? If the charge is distributed along the surface, we are called that term. What we are calling that term? If the charge is distributed along the length of the conductor, we call it as linear charge density, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Similarly, here the charge is distributed along the surface area of the conductor. So we can call it by a term. What is that? Can you recall it?
Surface charge density.
Yes, very good. It's surface charge density. And how we can represent the surface charge density?
Sigma.
Yes, sigma. So in this case, in order to explain the electric field due to uniformly charged thin plane sheet, we are considering a thin plane of sheet. Then we providing a charge. After sometimes this charge is uniformly distributed along the surface of the conductor. Then we are already studied that the surface charge density sigma is the charge distributed per unit length of the, not unit length, unit area of the conductor. So the surface charge density sigma is given by Q divided by A. This is the equation that we are already studied, right? From this equation, we can find the value of Q. What is the equation for Q? Can you form an equation Q from this? Q is equal to? Yes, it's
Sigma
right.
A.
Yes, Q is equal to sigma A. Q is equal to sigma A. Okay. So we are providing a charge to this thin plane of sheet. It is uniformly distributed along the surface of this conductor. Then we are calculating the surface charge density. The charge that is distributed along the surface of the conductor is given by surface charge density, that is sigma is equal to Q by A, where sigma is the surface charge density, Q is the charge, and A is the area of the conductor. Then from that equation, we are finding Q is equal to sigma A. What is the next step? Now we want to find out the electric field intensity at the point due to this thin plane sheet of charge. Okay, now we want to calculate electric field intensity due to this uniformly charged thin plane of sheet. In order to find out this electric field intensity, I place a point P. I place a point P here. So the third step in our procedure is that I want to find out the electric field due to this thin plane of sheet of charge. For that, I consider a point P at a distance from this thin plane sheet of charge. Now I want to calculate the electric field intensity at the point P by applying the Gauss's law. So what is the condition for applying the Gauss's law? It must be contain a Gaussian surface, right? In order to find out the electric field intensity at the point P by applying the Gauss's law, we can apply the Gauss's law if and only if there is a Gaussian surface. And what is the condition for Gaussian surface? There is a Gaussian surface is exist when it is a closed surface. So from this figure, it is clear that these positive charges, that is, they are radially outwards. So the Gaussian surfaces can be applied if and only if the electric flux that is enclosed by a surface, then only it is equal to Q by epsilon 0 times the net charge enclosed by a surface. So we are considering a Gaussian surface that is enclosing this point P. Okay, that is enclosing this point P. So the Gaussian surface is like this. We get a Gaussian surface like this. What is the shape of this Gaussian surface?
Cylinder.
It is again in the form of a cylinder. So the same procedures that we are used as in the case of the first case. The first case, we are, instead of this plane sheet, we are considering a long straight conducting wire. Then we place a charge. The charge is uniformly distributed along the length of the conductor. Then we are placing we are finding the electric field intensity at that point. Similarly, here, instead of the long straight conductor, we are placing a thin plain sheet of charge and providing a charge. After that, sometimes what happens, the charge is uniformly distributed along the surface of this thin plain sheet. Then we are calculating the surface charge density, sigma is equal to Q by A. And from that equation, we are calculating the value of Q. That is, Q is the charge given by sigma A. Now, we want to find out the electric field intensity at a point. In order to find out the electric field intensity at a point due to this thin plain sheet of charge, we are considering a point P. And by applying the Gauss's law, we are going to find out the electric field intensity at that point P. For that, we are considering a Gaussian surface. What is the speciality of Gaussian surface? It must be a closed surface. So we are considering a closed surface which is enclosing the point P. So our Gaussian surface is in the form of a cylinder, right? Okay. Now, what are the
Ma'am.
surface? Yes.
Where are we placing the charge?
Wherever we are not placing the charge at any point inside this plane sheet. We can place the charge any point inside this plane sheet, but after sometimes what happens, this charge is uniformly distributed on its surface. That we are already studied the properties of charges. Okay. The charge is uniformly, the charge is neither be created nor be destroyed, can be transformed from one medium to another. And this charge is after sometimes it is uniformly distributed on the surface of this conductor. Okay. And to find out this
Okay.
electric field intensity, we are placing a point P here. We are placing a point P there. And by applying the Gauss's law, we want to calculate the electric field intensity. To apply the Gauss's law, we are considering a Gaussian surface which is encloses the point P. So the Gaussian surface is in the form of a cylinder, right? Then how many
Yes, ma'am.
surfaces are there for a cylinder? You can recall that we are discussing the first application. Yes. Yes, Achut? Three surfaces. That is, it has two end surfaces and one curved surface is there. Here one curved surface is there, right? It has two end faces and one curved surface are there. All right. Now we want to check whether the electric flux is satisfied. The equation for the electric flux is satisfied at these three surfaces. What is the equation for electric flux? Phi is equal to closed integral over EdA cos theta. That is the equation for the electric flux. Now we want to check. We have three surfaces, two end faces and one curved surface. We apply the equation for electric flux to each of the surface and we check whether this equation of electric flux is exists there or not. If and only if the electric flux equation is there, then only we can apply the Gauss's law. Okay. So first of all, we can check the electric flux equation for this side on the left side, the end face on the left side. Okay. In order to apply the Gauss's law, we consider here a small area is there. The small area is represented by dA. And what is the direction of this area vector? What is the speciality?
Normal.
Yes, very good. The direction of the area vector is always normal to the surface. Good. Then whatever the direction of the electric field vector, here it is positive charge. The electric field vector is also pointing outwards or it is radially outwards. So what is the direction of the electric field vector? E is also along the direction of the area vector, right? The direction of the electric field vector is also same as that of the area vector. Then what is the angle between them?
0.
Zero.
Yes, the angle between them is 0 degree because here the area vector and electric field vector are aligned along the same direction. So we can discuss the flux equation for case 1. For one end phase, what is the equation for electric flux? Phi is equal to closed integral EdA cos theta, right? EdA cos theta. In this end phase, what is the angle between the area vector and that of the electric field vector? Angle is
Zero.
0 degree. So here the theta is equal to 0, then what happens to the electric flux equation? Phi is equal to closed integral EdA cos 0. EdA cos 0, right? What is cos 0? Sania, what is cos 0?
1.
Yes, very good. Since cos 0 is equal to 1, what about our equation? Equation becomes phi is equal to closed integral EdA, right? Phi is equal to closed integral EdA. This is for this end phase. So in this end phase, the flux is exist. Phi is equal to closed integral EdA, right? Now we can check the equation for electric flux for this end phase. Okay. In order to check the electric flux, we want to find out the direction of the area vector and also that of the electric field vector. Here also we are considering a small area. What about the direction of dA? Direction of dA is normal to the surface, right? It is normal to the surface. What about the direction of the electric field? Here also it is radially outwards, right? So the direction of the electric field vector is parallel to that of the direction of the area vector, which means both of them are in the same direction. Then what is the angle between area vector and that of the electric field vector? What is the angle between them?
0.
0. Because here also the area vector and that of the electric field vector, they are aligned in the same direction. So the angle between them equal to 0. Very good. Then in this case also we are applying the electric flux equation for electric flux. Phi is equal to closed integral of EdA cos theta. Here also the theta is equal to 0 degree. Therefore, phi is equal to closed integral EdA cos 0. We are already say that cos 0 is equal to 1. Cos 0 equal to 1. So what happens to our equation? Phi is equal to closed integral EdA. Clear? This is for the second end phase. Now we want to check the electric flux at the curved phase. Okay, I hope that the electric flux equation for the two end phase is clear for you, right? Do you have any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay, now we want to check the electric flux for the curved phase. We have one more surface is there, that is the electric flux for the curved phase. Here we have a curved region here. This is a curved region is there. So it also possesses an area dA, a small area for a curved surface. And what is the direction of the area vector here? It is upwards because we are already studied the area vector is normal to the surface. So here this area vector is in this form. What about the direction of the electric field vector? Here the positive charge, it is radially outwards. This is the direction of the electric field vector. This is the direction of area vector. What about the angle between them? What about the angle between them? Is it 0?
20 degrees.
Yes, it is not 0. They are mutually perpendicular. They are mutually perpendicular. So the angle between them is equal to 90 degree. Because here the dA, the direction of the area vector and that of the direction of the electric field vector are mutually perpendicular. They are not in the same direction. So the angle between this area vector and that of the electric field vector is 90 degree. Clear? It is equal to 90 degree. Now we can apply the equation. We can check whether the electric flux is exist there or not. So according to the equation of electric flux, we have phi is equal to closed integral EdA cos theta. What about theta here? In the curved surface, theta is equal to 90 degree. Very good. Theta is equal to 90 degree. And the equation is becomes phi is equal to closed integral EdA cos 90. What is the value of cos 90, Gayatri?
0.
Yes, cos 90 is equal to 0. Then what happens to our equation? Phi is equal to closed integral EdA into 0. What is that value? 0. That is phi is equal to, which implies phi is equal to 0. So in the curved surface, in the middle portion, the value of phi is equal to 0. Clear? Okay. So here we are check the electric flux, whether the electric flux equations can be applied to the three surfaces. We are applying the electric flux equation for the first two end faces. It is satisfied. Phi is equal to closed integral EDA. But for the curved surface, since the area vector and that of the electric field vector mutually perpendicular to each other, the angle between them is 90 degree. So the electric flux at the curved surface is given as 0, obtained as 0. Clear? Okay, all right. Now we can apply the Gauss's law. We can apply the Gauss's law. So what is the electric flux obtained here? Phi is equal to closed integral EDA. Phi is equal to closed integral EDA cos theta. This is the equation for electric flux. And we are already studied that instead of this closed integral, we can use one more term. Which notation we can use to the instead of integration? We can use summation, sigma, summation. Why? Because the integration is the process of repeated addition. Integration is the process of repeated addition that we are already discussed in the terms of electric flux. We forms the three definition for electric flux. In that case, we are discussing that phi is equal to closed integral EDA, or it can also written as summation of EDA. Summation of EDA. EDA cos theta. Okay. Now we have electric flux due to three surfaces. We are calculating the electric flux for three surfaces. What are the electric flux for three surfaces? For the first end phase, it is given by EDA cos 0 plus again for the next end phase, the electric flux is given by EDA cos 0 plus for the curved surface, what is the value of EDA? It is EDA cos 90, right? EDA cos 90. Since EDA cos 0 is equal to 1, for first case, the phi is equal to EDA plus the second case also, since cos 0 equal to 1, EDA cos 0, it becomes EDA. And what about the third case? Cos 90 is equal to 0. So in that term, it becomes equal to 0. Okay. Can I rub this figure?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So our equation is becomes phi is equal to EDA plus EDA. Okay, EDA plus the last term of the equation becomes 0 because it is due to the angle between them is equal to 90 degree. Now we can apply the Gauss's law to these two terms, to the two end faces, that is EDA plus EDA is equal to, according to Gauss's law, it is also equal to 1 by epsilon 0 times the charge enclosed by the surface. We are applying the Gauss's law to the two end faces only. Because the curved surface, the electric flux phi is equal to 0. So we are applying the Gauss's law to the two end faces. Okay. So EDA plus EDA is equal to Q divided by epsilon 0, right? What is EDA plus EDA? What is EDA plus EDA?
EDA.
Yes, very good. It is 2 EDA. 2 EDA is equal to Q divided by epsilon 0, right? Q divided by epsilon 0. Now, what is Q? What is Q? This is a uniformly charged thin plane sheet. What is the expression for Q that we were discussing in the beginning of this derivation?
My
Sigma A.
Yes, very good. Q is equal to sigma A, right? Q is equal to sigma A, where Q is the charge, sigma is the surface charge density, and A is the area of the entire thin plane sheet, right? A is the area of the entire thin plane sheet. Did we take the entire thin plane sheet for our derivation? Is it is not satisfied in the case of a curved surface. We are considering only a small surface. So we are taking not the entire area. Instead of this entire area, we are considering a small area. So our equation is changes into Q is equal to sigma dA. Why we are taking dA? We are not considering the thin plane sheet as a whole. We have the electric flux equation is satisfied only for a small area dA. That is why the entire area is changes into small area. That is Q is equal to sigma dA. Q is equal to sigma dA. We are substituting the value of Q to this equation. So what becomes the equation is become 2EdA equal to, instead of Q, what we can write? Instead of Q, it becomes,
sigma dA.
yes, it becomes sigma dA divided by epsilon 0. Sigma dA by epsilon 0. Now we can cancel this dA and dA, right? We can cancel this dA and dA. And we want to calculate, what is the second application of Gauss's law? We want to calculate the electric field due to uniformly charged thin plane sheet. So from this equation, we want to calculate the expression for E. So finally, what is the equation for E becomes? The electric field E is equal to sigma divided by 2 epsilon 0. Sigma divided by 2 epsilon 0. This is the final equation for the electric field due to uniformly charged thin plane sheet. Do you have any doubt? Okay. The equations or the derivations are exactly same as that of the first case. In that first case, we are considering the infinitely long straight conductor. Here we are, instead of long straight conductor, we are consider a thin plane sheet of charge. And into that thin plane sheet of charge, we are providing a charge. What happens after sometimes we are providing a charge only to the surface of this thin plane sheet. After sometimes this charge is uniformly distributed along the surface of this thin plane sheet. Then we are calculating the surface charge density, sigma. Okay, the value of the surface charge density, sigma, is given by Q divided by A. From that, we are find the expression for Q. Q is equal to sigma A. Then we want to find out what? We want to find out the expression. We want to find out the expression for the electric field intensity at a particular point due to this thin sheet of charge. For that, we are considering a particular point P near the electric field, and we are finding the electric field by applying the Gauss's law. In order to applying the Gauss's law, we want to consider a Gaussian surface by enclosing the point P, right? We are consider a Gaussian surface by enclosing the point P, and the Gaussian surface is in the form of a cylinder. And we are already studied that the cylinder has 3 faces, 2 end faces, and also 1 curved surface. Then we are applying, or we are check whether the electric flux is exist for the 2 end faces and the curved surface. When we are checking, we got that at the end faces, what happens to the electric flux? The electric flux is becomes equal to closed integral EdA, and for the curved surface, the electric flux phi is equal to 0. Then we are applying the Gauss's law. So we get EdA plus EdA is equal to Q by epsilon 0, or 2 EdA is equal to Q by epsilon 0. And here we already studied that Q is equal to sigma A. But here we are not considering the entire area of the thin plane sheet. Instead of that, we are considering a small area. So the entire area term A is replaced by the small dA. Okay. So Q is equal to sigma dA. So 2 EdA is equal to sigma dA divided by epsilon 0. Then we cancel the dA and dA on both sides of the equation. Finally, the electric field due to the uniformly charged thin plane sheet is given by is equal to sigma divided by 2 epsilon 0. Clear? Where sigma is the surface charge density and epsilon 0 is the permittivity of the free space. I hope this is clear for you. Do you have any doubt in any steps? Ask freely, no problem. Yes? Why are you silent? Now we can discuss the another application of the Gauss's law, that is the third application. And the third application of the Gauss's law is the electric field due to uniformly charged spherical shell. Write the heading. Electric field due to uniformly charged spherical shell. This is the third and the last application of the Gauss's law. There's not vector form. We can represent the vector on 1 minute. Okay. So the next application of the Gauss's law is electric field due to uniformly charged spherical shell. Uniformly charged spherical shell. Okay. Then which type of conductor that we are consider here? Which conductor that we are consider here? In the case of a uniformly charged long straight conductor, we are considering an infinitely long straight conductor. In the case of uniformly charged infinite thin plane sheet, we are consider a thin plane sheet. Here we are going to discuss the electric field due to uniformly charged spherical shell. So what is the shape of the conductor here?
Spherical.
Yes, we are considering a spherical shell. So instead of this long straight conductor and thin plane sheet of charge, we are consider a spherical shell. A spherical shell of radius r. A spherical shell of radius capital R. Okay. Now, what is the second step that we are doing here? We want to do to this spherical shell. What is the second step what we want to do here? Yes,
Charge.
clear? Yeah, we are providing a charge to the surface, to any particular surface of the spherical shell. We are providing a charge to this spherical shell. After sometimes, what happens?
Uniformly distributed.
Yes, after sometimes this providing charge is uniformly distributed along the surface of the spherical shell. The same thing happens here. We are considering a spherical shell, then providing a charge to the spherical shell. After sometimes this charge is uniformly distributed along the surface of a spherical shell. Okay, here also the charge is distributed along the surface of a spherical shell. Then which physical term that we are using here? Is it is the linear charge density, surface charge density, or volume charge density?
Surface charge density.
Surface charge density, because here also the charge is distributed along the surface area of the sphere. So here also we can write the surface charge density sigma is equal to Q divided by A. Here only the changes occurs for the conductor. Instead of a thin plane sheet of charge, here we are considering a spherical shell and the charge is uniformly distributed along the surface. So we can find out the surface charge density sigma is equal to Q divided by A. Clear? What is Q? What is Q?
Charge.
Q is the charge and A is the area of the sphere, right? And from this equation, we can calculate what is Q. What is the expression for Q from this equation 1? Can you make an equation for Q? Q is equal to? Oh, yes, it's right. Q is equal to sigma A. Q is equal to sigma A. So Q is the charge, sigma is the surface charge density, and what is A? A is represents the area of the sphere. Okay, A is represents the area of the sphere. Okay. And how we can calculate the area of the sphere? What is the equation for calculating the area of the sphere? You are already studied in mathematics. Can you recall it? Equation for calculating the area of the sphere.
4 pi r square.
Yes, very good. Since A is the area of the sphere, the value of the A is given by 4 pi r square. 4 pi r square. Okay. Then what happens to our equation for charge? Q is equal to sigma into A. Instead of A, we can substitute the equation for A, that is 4 pi r square. Clear? So we are considering a spherical shell, providing a charge to the spherical shell. After some time, this charge is uniformly distributed along the surface of the spherical shell. Then the expression for the surface charge density sigma is the charge distributed per unit area, that is given by Q by A, where Q is the charge, sigma is the surface charge density. From this equation, expression for Q is given by Q is equal to sigma A, where sigma is the surface charge density and A is the area of the sphere. Since A is the area of the sphere, it can be calculated by the equation 4 pi r square. So equation for Q is given by sigma 4 pi r square. Clear? All right. Now, what about the next step? What we want to do this spherical shell? We want to calculate the electric field intensity due to this uniformly charged spherical shell. Now we want to calculate the electric field intensity due to this uniformly charged spherical shell. In order to find out this electric field intensity, what we want to do? We want to consider a point P. The steps are the same. In order to calculate the electric field intensity, we want to consider an electric field. Now we want to consider a point P. In order to consider the electric field intensity due to this spherical shell, we want to consider a point P. And we can find out the electric field intensity at this point P using the Gauss's law. In order to applying the Gauss's law, we want a which surface?
Gaussian.
Yes, in order to apply the Gauss's law, we want a Gaussian surface. So what is the speciality of the Gaussian surface? The Gaussian surface must be enclosed. The Gaussian surface must be enclosed. So we consider a Gaussian surface that is encloses the point P. We are consider a Gaussian surface that is encloses the point P. Okay. What is the shape of the Gaussian surface now? What is the shape of the Gaussian surface?
Sphere.
Yes, it is also in the form of a sphere. It is actually a sphere. Okay. I wanted to draw a sphere. It is just like this shape. You just imagine it's a sphere. Okay. So in order to find the electric field intensity, we are considering a point P. And we can calculate the electric field intensity at the point P by applying the Gauss's law. To apply the Gauss's law, we want a Gaussian surface. The Gaussian surface is a surface that is encloses the point P. So we get a Gaussian surface in the form of a cylinder. So here also the Gaussian surface is a form of sphere. It has a radius R. The radius of the Gaussian surface is again a spherical shape. And the radius of this Gaussian surface is given by small letter r. The capital letter R is the radius of the spherical shell, where small letter r is the radius of the Gaussian surface. The Gaussian surface is also sphere. Its radius is given by small letter r. Clear? Now, we want to apply the equation for electric flux. For this, we are considering a small area at this point P. We are considering a small area at this point P. Consider a small area at this point P. What is the direction of this area vector? Direction of area vector is always normal to the surface, right? It is normal. So this is the direction of the area vector. It is normal to the surface. Okay. What about the direction of this electric field? Here the positive charge, it is also diverging out, or it is radially outside. The electric field vector is also pointing on along this direction. Then can you say what is the angle between the area vector and that of the electric field vector?
Zero.
Yes, very good. It is equal to 0. Okay, now we can apply the equation for electric flux. That is phi is equal to closed integral EdA cos theta. Phi is equal to closed integral EdA cos theta. And here the theta is equal to 0 degree, because here the angle between that of the area vector and electric field vector is equal to 0. Therefore, theta is equal to 0 degree. Therefore, the equation becomes phi is equal to closed integral EdA cos 0. EdA cos 0. What is the value of cos 0? Cos 0 is
1.
equal to 1. Cos 0 is equal to 1. Then phi is equal to, the equation for phi is equal to closed integral EdA into cos 0, that is 1. So it becomes phi is equal to closed integral EdA. Clear? Now, here the electric flux is not equal to 0. So we can equate them to the Gauss's law. That is phi is equal to closed integral EdA. Since it is a closed surface, it satisfies the Gauss's law. It is equal to the 1 by epsilon 0 times the charge enclosed by the surface. That is phi is equal to closed integral EdA satisfies the electric flux equation. So it is equal to Q by epsilon 0. 1 by epsilon 0 times the charge enclosed by the surface. Okay, so we can write the closed integral EdA. The closed integral EdA is equal to Q divided by epsilon 0. Q divided by epsilon 0. Okay. Now, that is closed integral EdA is equal to, what is the equation for Q? What is Q? We are deriving the equation for Q in the beginning of this derivations.
Sigma 4 pi r square.
Yes, very good. It is sigma 4 pi r square, capital R square, divided by epsilon 0, right? Now, what about the left hand side of the equation, LHS? Here, we can take this E outside, say constant electric field. E into closed integral over dA is equal to sigma 4 pi r square divided by epsilon 0. Okay. E is a constant electric field. We take it outside. And it is closed integral of dA is equal to sigma 4 pi r square divided by epsilon 0. We are already studied that. What is the integral of derivative of a function? Integral of derivative of area, that is equal to
Area.
area itself. So we can, this equation is becomes E into area, that is dA. This is the area of the Gaussian surface. This because this is the area of the small area here we are consider. The small area that we are consider for the Gaussian surface, right? It is not the entire area of the spherical shell. It is the dA is the area of the Gaussian surface. What is the area of the Gaussian surface? What is the area of the Gaussian surface? It is also sphere. So its equation is becomes The area of the Gaussian surface. Area of Gaussian surface. What is the area of Gaussian surface?
4 pi r square.
Yes, it is also equal to 4 pi r square. But what is the radius of the Gaussian surface? It is capital R or small r?
Smaller.
Yes. So it is 4 pi r square. 4 pi small r square. So the electric field E into, here this dA is the area of the Gaussian surface. It is given by 4 pi r square. Why it is become small r? This is the radius of the Gaussian surface. The radius of the Gaussian surface is given by small r. And where capital R is the radius of the spherical shell. Okay. So E into 4 pi r square is equal to sigma 4 pi capital R square divided by epsilon 0. Okay. Then, what about the terms? We can cancel this 4 pi and 4 pi, right? So what is left in this equation? E is equal to sigma r square, sigma capital R square divided by epsilon 0 into this r is came to here. So it becomes epsilon 0 r square, right? So E is equal to sigma r square divided by epsilon 0 into small r square. Here, and we can give in the vector form, it is becomes equal to vector E is equal to sigma r square divided by epsilon 0 r square into unit vector r, unit vector r cap. Okay. So this is the expression of the electric field due to a point P outside the shell. If the point P is outside the shell. Okay. Now we can discuss one more condition along with this. And after that, we can wind up the section. So this is the electric field due to a point P outside the shell. Now, suppose if you are consider this point P is inside the shell. If P is inside the shell, what happens? If this P is inside the shell, if the P is here, then we can take capital R is equal to small r. If the point P is inside the shell, then the radius, both the radius are becomes equal. There is no Gaussian surface. If there is both the Gaussian surface and that of the spherical shell are same. If the P is on the cell or on the surface of the shell, R is equal to R, then what happens to the electric field? E is equal to sigma by epsilon 0. Sigma by epsilon 0 into unit vector I. Because this R and R becomes equal, they are cancels each other and the electric field vector E is becomes equal to sigma by epsilon 0. Clear? You have any doubt, you can ask now itself. Okay. I think it is clear for you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So with this, we are finished the theoretical portion of this chapter. This is the last topic. So these are the three application of the Gauss's law. The electric field due to uniformly charged infinite long straight conductor, and the electric field due to uniformly charged thin plane sheet. And finally, at the last class, we are discussing about the electric field due to uniformly charged spherical shell. Okay, so with this, the theory portion is over. But what do you want to do? You must thorough with the equation that we were discussing in the last class. So today we have one more period. We can discuss some exercise problems of this chapter. So you must go through that equations. Okay. Okay, students, I hope that these portions are clear, right? Okay, so with this, we can wind up this session. Thank you all.